Avery Lee Hobbs wasn't even a month old
She was almost 4 weeks old.
when she nearly died in a bathtub.
And then my mother-in-law heard this terrible noise and screams from the baby.
Avery's skull was fractured. In the criminal complaint, a detective claimed Avery's mother, Brittany Roll, confessed to harming Avery. She later told a therapist, "I really don't know what happened." Brittany was arrested, charged, and pleaded guilty to child endangerment. Her sentence? 6 months.
And then we had the baby from there forward.
Records from Hamilton County Job and Family Services, or JFS, stated Avery's father, Jamie Hobbs, was not interested in caring for Avery. But his mother and Avery's grandmother, Tammy, was. Tammy and her husband, Jonathan Risen, say they had cared for Avery nearly every day since she was just 2 days old.
She was happy here.
Loved her as if she's your own.
Yes.
The Risens got temporary custody of Avery.
We had like a guardianship through Job and Family Services. And
How long did that last?
Years.
Avery began to call Tammy Mama. Jonathan was Pappy.
You loved that baby.
Oh, yeah.
The Risens filed for full custody, supported by Avery's nurse practitioner, who wrote on June 29, 2012, "I would recommend Tammy Risen be considered for this role." But Avery's mother, Brittany, petitioned for custody too. When she got out of prison, JFS, which oversees child protection, allowed Brittany visitation rights with Avery. JFS records reveal trouble started the very first time Avery was with Brittany.
Got a frantic call from Avery's grandmother saying that Avery fell over and hit her head.
Avery was 8 months old and returned to the Risens with an egg-sized knot on her head. JFS determined it was an accident. The Risens say it would be the first in a long list of marks and bruises that appeared on Avery over the next 3 years.
How many incidents are you talking about? How many bruises?
Every visitation.
These photos taken by the Risens capture bruises, cuts, and marks on Avery.
She would always come back with bruises on her legs, right across her shin.
Yep.
And it
Like
I mean,
fingerprints.
right.
You saw fingerprints.
Yes.
She had bruises going up her spine from the buttons on her outfit.
Human bite marks on her feet
And you reported it the whole time, every time.
every time. They kept saying they were accidents.
Emails revealed the Risens reported these incidents to JFS, the social worker, and the Guardian. Medical records from Children's Hospital show Avery was treated for numerous bruises, marks, and cuts, even broken bones that had healed. Concern for abuse was noted many times, yet Avery's injuries were listed as falls or Avery banging her head. JFS documents reveal the social worker and guardian ad litem questioned Avery's mother, Brittany, but none of it was listed as abuse. So the Risens resorted to recording Avery.
Honey, it's time for you to go home to your mommy.
In disturbing audio captured by Tammy Risen, Avery cries and pleads not to go to her mother's home.
Every time Avery would come back here, she would think she was home.
And she'd scream and
Yeah, and-
cry.
In this video, recorded by the paternal grandfather, Avery clearly describes how she got bruises on her leg.
Right here, what'd Mommy do?
She just went me like that.
Okay.
In her last recording, Avery described awful things that were happening to her.
And Mommy put a belt on my back. She put tape on my mouth. She put tape on my legs and I was stuck.
Emails revealed the Risens reported all of it to JFS and the Guardian, who they say accused them of coaching Avery.
They told you that you were coaching her.
Yes.
But the Risens were not alone in reporting the alleged abuse. A daycare provider wrote that Avery tells her, "Mommy smacks her head and pulls her on potty." A pediatrician noted during a visit with Avery on her birthday that the mother stated, "I could choke her because she won't listen." That doctor also noted bruises on Avery's buttocks. One doctor referred suspected abuse to Avery to 241 Kids at least twice.
What a nightmare.
It was.
In February 2014, the Risens say it looked like their nightmare was over. Job and Family Services recommended the Risens get permanent custody of Avery and raise her in their home. But in March of 2015, over the objections of most of Avery's family, the Guardian ad litem recommended Brittany get permanent custody of Avery. The Guardian wrote she has no concerns with this placement. The magistrate and judge approved sending Avery to live with her mother, Brittany.
I told him in court. I said, you just killed her.
A year later, on July 29, 2016, EMS crews rushed to find Avery unresponsive in a bathtub. The coroner found injuries all over Avery's body, consistent with what the Risens had reported all along. Blunt force injuries to her head crushed her skull and killed her. Avery Lee Hobbs died on August 1st, 2016. She was just 4 years old.
No, why don't we sing Itsy Bitsy Spider?
The Risens said goodbye to a precious little girl they so desperately tried to save.
Out came the rain.
There's no words.
Nothing's the same. My family's destroyed. Up all the rain, so the itsy bitsy spider crawled up the spout again.
The time for reform in Ohio is now.
Fair Treatment Reform and Reentry is a small group with a big voice,
No justice, no peace.
often using children of inmates,
Who do we want justice for? Peter!
pleading for prison and parole reform.
Who do we want justice for? John!
The founder of the group is this man, James Kronenberger. Over the past few years, Kronenberger's been pictured with lots of powerful politicians and leaders, from the mayor of Columbus to state lawmakers, even the head of Ohio's prison system. He lobbies them all to get inmates early parole, or as he and his group call it, a second chance. He's even convinced lawmakers to draft a bill to do just that. It's something he claims he never got.
I was incarcerated for 25 years. So I know the system. It wasn't as bad as it is today.
The whole purpose of your group is second chance, right?
Right.
The group's president, Gina Mikulas, echoed Kronenberger's words, with one qualification. What if they blow the second chance?
Lock him up for life.
While Kronenberger talks a lot about being in prison, he seldom talks about the crimes that sent him there.
I know a little bit about it.
In a click, I found Kronenberger on the Ohio Attorney General's website, listed as a registered sexual predator, the most serious kind of sex offender. And the victims are juveniles, children. That was a surprise to the group's president.
You didn't know there were children?
No.
You didn't know it was sexual offenses? You didn't
But
know?
it was no surprise to Kronenberger.
You are a sexual predator
Right.
with a child spec.
Right.
The details of his crimes are much harder to get. They're in these court documents I obtained, describing details of cases where Kronenberger pleaded guilty to disturbing crimes, cases he now admits he kept secret, even from members of his own group. In 1987, Kronenberger, who was an auxiliary policeman at the time, pleaded guilty to 5 counts of child enticement. Police reports state Kronenberger admitted he exposed himself to young children, both male and female, approximately 25 times. The victims were as young as 8, 7, and 6 years old. Kronenberger did get a second chance, probation. But in 1993, he was sent to prison for 2 counts of attempted kidnapping with the purpose of engaging in sexual activity. The victims were 7 and 10 years old. That was followed by yet another second chance, probation again. In 2003, he violated that probation and was convicted of 2 counts of harassing children over the phone. One victim was a 5-year-old boy. In Kronenberger's case, second chances created more victims.
How can you possibly talk about a second chance when personally you were given a second and third chance and you blew it each time?
Right.
How can you push for that today?
Because people can change.
Cronenberger claims he's a recovering sexual addict.
And if you're an addict to that sexual predilection, you don't get over that either,
Right.
if you're being honest.
Right.
Do you agree?
Yeah, I just don't dwell on it or, or anything and take
You still have those thoughts that
I
come
never
through.
thought of it, but probably I do.
Yet Cronenberger continues to be surrounded by young children, and he admits he never told their parents, nor members of his own group, about what he really did.
Nobody asked. I tell people I was in prison.
Why wouldn't you tell everyone if you're nothing to hide?
I don't know. I just never thought of it.
Now, Fair Treatment Reform and Reentry's president has plenty to think about after I uncovered the real record of her group's founder.
I am very shocked. Like I said, as far as I knew about the kidnapping, but I didn't know the extent of it. It kind of damages the whole entire mission and cause that we have.
You're going to get rid of him?
We have to.
In late January, Stephanie Kinley and Jeremy Davis moved into this home on Hamilton Avenue, owned by Reno Runk and his wife.
You wouldn't think it was going to happen to you.
But it did. Both Kinley and Davis have been convicted of theft for stealing homes and properties on Hamilton Avenue. But before they were arrested, the pair simply took over the Runk family home.
There was just stuff everywhere.
Like they owned the place,
Yeah.
which on paper they did.
Yeah.
On January 25th, Kinley and Davis filed this deed at the Hamilton County Auditor's Office, allowing them to claim the home as their own. But the signatures on that deed are not real. Reno Runk and his wife never signed.
I never imagined that someone could just forge a deed and take your home from you.
So why did the Hamilton County Auditor and Recorder's offices allow this deed to be filed? It turns out anyone can forge signatures and steal a home if a notary public signs and seals the document.
Is it really that easy?
It's pretty easy.
The deed that led to the theft of the Runk family home has a seal and signature from this woman.
Are you Julie?
She is Julie Kathleen Taylor, the same one who notarized the deed that led to the theft of the Runk home. Taylor runs 24/7 Mobile Notary LLC, which means she meets people across the tri-state who need documents notarized, which is what she says happened when she met Kinley and Davis.
I met these people in a parking lot.
Taylor admits she notarized this deed, even though she did not witness Reno Runk or his wife sign in front of her.
You did violate a golden rule, which is you're supposed to watch them sign it.
Yep.
Taylor tells me she notarized even though she knew she should not, because Kinley and Davis, she says, convinced her to do it.
So in other words, you said I'm not supposed to put a notary
Yes.
without them being here.
Right.
And Taylor says she notarized that deed anyway. Hamilton County Prosecutor Joe Dieters says the auditor's office had no choice but to accept it.
Is it because the auditor's office, which is your first line of defense, has to take a document that is notarized?
Yes,
And they can't question?
correct.
While Taylor notarized the deed that led to the Runk family home being transferred, other notaries pressed their seals for other deeds.
On paper, they own that house right there and that house right there.
Prosecutors say Kinley and Davis filed other fraudulent deeds on homes, an apartment building, even a church on the same block.
Stolen.
Yeah.
I have considered sentencing factors under 29.
On Wednesday, the couple faced a judge who sent them to prison for 5 counts of theft.
You can reject anything you want.
Kinley was sentenced to 18 months behind bars. Davis was sentenced to 2 years.
One will be 12 months of
While the case is now closed, it does expose a weakness in a system that allows couples like this to steal if they can get that seal.
And it can be just like that your home is gone.
It's true. And I would very much support a way to block it, but it's tough right now. It's tough.